Well, hello everybody. We're back again with another Art Matters. This is George Cron and Tim Pilot, my co-star, and this will be our July issue of Art Matters here in Springfield, Missouri. 10th.
Big number 10. Yep.
We're doing good now. We've kind of hit our stride, and we haven't been lagging at all. So I'm really pleased about that. And it's a beautiful day out today.
Too hot.
It is
too bloody hot.
It's
too bloody hot.
Humid.
And it's hot and humid.
It's hot and humid.
Yeah.
If you don't know, Springfield was on national news because of our major rain we had.
9 inches of rain yesterday morning.
I know. So we once again we're stars in the national news. So anyhow, we've got some great guests today. I'm really excited about. We kind of got a new twist on art in Springfield, Missouri.
We've got Tom Ehlers and Jeff Jenkins today.
That's
so it's
right.
going to be a pretty interesting couple of guests. I want to chat just a little bit, George. We had our season premieres of Star Trek Live on Stage and Buffy Live on Stage last night.
The audience was crazy.
They loved it. Star Trek was, the episode was The Mark of Gideon, and Buffy was the freshman, Buffy's first day of college. And that was the season 4 premiere of Buffy and the season 3 premiere of Star Trek.
We're starting our 4th year of Buffy.
Yeah, I think that they said last night it was the 33rd episode of Buffy, and this was, I think, the 17th episode of Star Trek.
Oh my, boy, time just races along.
Keep on knocking them out.
I know.
I'd like if you'd give me just a second, George, to talk about some upcoming productions in the Springfield area.
Oh, I'll let you, please do.
Every month, Springfield Regional Opera Lyric Theater features Operazzi the third Sunday of every month at 5 p.m. here at the Creamery Art Center, which is where we're recording the podcast.
That's right.
You mentioned, like we do every month, about the
Oh, by all means, we're so pleased to be able to come here to the Creamery. The Springfield Regional Arts Council and the Missouri Film Alliance are very nice to let us use this space. They have an editing bay here in the Creamery, and it's got nice foam cones up to kind of help with the sound issues. And we're very pleased we have this opportunity to use this space for Art Matters, so we always like to say thank you to them.
Very, very grateful. Anyway, Operazzi, again, is the third Sunday of every month at 5 p.m. here at the Creamery Art Center in the Art Gallery. It's an open mic night for opera and musical theater performers. And they often have instrumentalists, too. It's a free event. They do take donations, though, because there's lots of good food, lots of good drink. It's a good time from 5 to 7 p.m., so check that out. You can get more information from the opera by calling 417-863-1960 or visiting them on the web at srolyrictheater.com. Now, also, we have 10th Theater's 51st season this year. They're right in the middle of a production right now of
110 in the Shade.
110 in the Shade.
Based on The Rainmaker, if you know that play was.
All right.
Starbuck and Lizzie.
They've got actually 3 productions this year. They're finishing up 110 in the Shade. It'll be over by the time this podcast airs. But coming up through July the 6th is Steel Magnolias at 10th Theater. Also, July 11th through the 21st is Damn Yankees. You can get more information about those productions at 10ththeater.missouristate.edu or by calling 417-836-7678. Also, from a Class Act Productions, Star Trek Live on Stage and Buffy the Vampire Slayer Live on Stage. They return for their 3rd and 4th seasons. On July the 20th, Star Trek Live on Stage, A Private Little War at 8 p.m. and Buffy, A Harsh Light of Day at 10. Now, you can see those shows for $5 a piece, or one of the best entertainment deals in Springfield. You can see both shows in one night for only $8. For more information, call 417-766-3139, or you can visit a Class Act Productions on Facebook. Now, also, you can catch me, Tim Pyland, at Pythian Castle every month on the 2nd and 3rd Fridays at 8 and 10 p.m. For my ghost tours. Come tour Missouri's most haunted castle, and before you snicker at that, there are 22 castles in Missouri, and certainly one of the most haunted buildings in the entire Midwest. They also have murder mysteries, historical tours, cabaret shows, stand-up comedy nights, and a dueling Santa's Christmas show every Christmas season. For more information, contact the castle at 417-865-1464. Search Facebook for Pythian Castle and Pythian Castle Ghost Tours, or you can visit them on the web at pythiancastle.com. Also, we'd really like to refer people to the Springfield Regional Arts Council, website at www.springfieldarts.org. And George, I say it every month, if you can't find something to do in Springfield on the weekend, you're not trying hard enough. There's lots and lots of stuff going on. All right. George, you want to introduce our first guest?
I'll be happy to. We have for our first guest, we have Tom Ehlers with Stone Effects.
Stone Effects, yes.
Yes, great. And I was by his shop the other day with a friend of mine, Richard Lewis, who's a visual artist here in town. Richard had mentioned, because Richard has some great stuff at his house. You know, if you've been to Richard's house, it's like a museum. And he has some great stone and concrete works. And I said, where did you get those? He goes, well, I got them down the street just off of Commercial. A guy named Tom Ehlers has a business there where he does some great work. And he took me over there, and he wasn't open. I think you were out camping or something.
Yeah, I probably was out camping.
Yeah, so we were peering through the window, and I was looking at his stuff, and then we went out in the back, and he has a big lot in the back where he has works kind of sitting out there, and I thought, what a great opportunity and kind of a different twist on approaching the idea of visual art. I've been wanting to find somebody who worked in stone and concrete because we've had painters and singers and things. So I called Tom up. Well, actually, I guess you returned my phone call because I heard you were camping, because I'm back from camping now. And so I gave him a call, and he's here today to tell us a little bit about the things he does.
So, Tom, you work primarily in concrete and stone?
It's concrete. But the trade name is cast stone,
Okay.
but it's actually cast concrete. And
So what do you do? What's the most popular thing you do out of your shop?
I think the fireplace mantles probably the most pleasure that I have of creating.
Okay, a fireplace mantle, meaning...
The surrounds of the fireplace, old world look like just old stone. That's the look that I'm trying to get.
Okay.
How long have you been doing this?
20 years now. I've made my first mold of a keystone for a builder, and that's been about 20 years, and just kind of went from there.
Wow.
So you do fireplace mantles, do you do statuaries?
Some statuaries,
Okay.
and a lot of garden elements,
Okay.
decorative plaques, corbels, it's water features, a lot of custom work too.
Okay, yeah, we were chatting about that before we started. Custom molds. Explain that, because I mean, you say you can tailor to a customer's specific needs?
Yes, I can do the original out of clay, and then you make a rubber mold off of it,
Okay.
and then you cast it in concrete, and use color in the mix. You can age it. You can put stains on the concrete and make it look like it's just been weathered. It's endless what you can do with concrete.
And George will certainly have some pictures of some of your work, Tom, scrolling on the screen.
Even as we're speaking now, probably they will be going by.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the magic of the interwebs. So just check that out. That's pretty fascinating. So you do statuaries, you do water, you do
Monuments too. I've done-
headstones.
Yes, headstones.
Okay.
Probably the most enjoyable one was doing a tree trunk monument. It's about 6 foot tall and about 24 inches diameter, and that was for a customer. And I actually did the original out of plaster and reinforced it with rebar and wire mesh, and put the bark texture on there, and then made a rubber mold off of that, and then what they call a fiberglass mother mold to keep the rubber in shape until you strip it, and then you from your original, and then you put it back together and you pour your concrete in there. So
Because the rubber will stretch, and you get too much
you can
concrete.
get a lot of detail in there. So you need a backing to it,
Right, to
not just
hold
the
it.
rubber. You got to have either plaster or fiberglass.
Right, that makes sense.
So you're saying that if I wanted to come and order a monument for when I die, you could custom mold the Starship Enterprise.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be awesome. Yeah, as he said it, my eyes went ding. I'm like, okay,
Wouldn't that
that's
be
forever
neat?
and ever and ever, George.
Oh, that would be
Forever.
so cool.
That's. Do you do that a lot? Do you do a lot of monuments?
I've 5 so far, and I've got on my website, and so it has to be custom. I mean, that's pretty custom monuments, because everybody has their own ideas what they
Yeah,
want.
and you have to be ready to do it at a moment's notice too. I would think.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's fascinating.
What is one of the most... Well, first I want to say, you said you mailed this monument. It was 6 feet tall?
Yes, and I poured it on site. I dug a footer
Okay, that was...
at the cemetery, because it'd be way too heavy to move.
That's what my question was.
Yes.
How do you move things like
Yeah.
that? So you have to build it on site.
On site. Just put the forms together on top of the footing.
How long does that take to do on site?
It takes a day to set it up. Well, a day to dig the footing and pour the concrete, but and then let's set up the concrete cure out, and then put your fiberglass mold on top of it, and then pour your concrete in there. But I don't pour it completely full. I put actually a sono tube. It's a sono tube like out of fiber, and so that way you don't have to do the whole thing out of concrete. You pour around that tube, so the tube's
Okay, I
in the
see.
very center.
Sort of a filler.
Yes,
kind of
it's a
thing.
filler. So
A little lighter,
it'd be way
too.
too much weight. So you try to
Yeah.
have less weight. So yeah.
Wow. Is there something you've created that is extremely unusual, or just
Well,
curious?
there's cement. There's so many specialty mixes they have now. You can pre-package cement that has modifiers in it, polymers, and really, really strong little glass fibers.
Mhm.
So I've been doing real thin tiles out of cement,
Mhm.
and you wouldn't be able to do that a few years ago. And so all the new technology they have with cement. So I'm doing plaques and make it lightweight, a shell rather than solid. If
Mhm.
you want to do a shell of something,
Right.
half-inch thick, and it's really strong.
Wow.
So that's something new.
I'd be curious. I don't want to get too pry too much. I was curious on cost and things. Do you have an idea of roughly what the cost of having something custom made would be?
You have a base price.
It's not by the pound, I
Yeah,
assume.
no, it's all depends how detailed it is.
Yeah.
The original artwork takes a long time. The rubbers are pretty expensive. Oh, it varies, but the tree trunk monument is a couple $1,000s just.
That's
to
not
do
bad compared to the
No.
headstones. That's
Yeah.
that's very reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this is fascinating. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to chat a little more with Tom, talk about his shop, talk about some sales he's got going on, and also upcoming events and his contact information. You have been listening to Art Matters, recorded at the Creamery Arts Center in Springfield, Missouri. We'll be right back.
And we're back with Tom Ehlers of Stone Effects and talking about some very interesting products that he creates. Again, I was at his shop the other day and was just amazed at some of the detailed things I'd seen that he can create out of concrete.
Well, that actually brings a question. Do you have an inspiration, an artist or a sculptor that inspired you more than any other?
Frank Lloyd Wright, he used a lot of concrete
Okay.
in his homes, and he actually made textured blocks with his design, and so Frank Lloyd Wright, I would say, just because the use of it in architecture.
It's fairly modern. It's fairly modern inspiration.
Yeah. The plaza in Kansas City,
Yes.
I was always amazed when I was a high school kid and walk around and you see all the detailed architectural facades. And I said, I've always been around concrete work and masonry, as far as driveways and patios and sidewalks, but I've always been interested in what you can do with concrete. And so an artist friend of mine showed me how to make my first mold, and then it kind of went from there. Wow, this is cool. You can do something really cool with concrete. And so the plaza just kind of gave me ideas what I could do.
I love the idea, I guess, it's just my ego or something. I like the idea of being able to create something that's so permanent, that'll be around for such a long time.
Yes.
I think that's neat.
Well, so do you prefer to work, say, in geometric shapes? Do you prefer to do pieces of art that come from nature? What's your favorite style to work?
Yeah, I like to look weathered. I like for it to look old, so like an ancient carved stone piece.
Okay.
And that's with my fireplace mantles. I can do different things with it, with inserts of decorative leaves, over the opening of the fireplace, or a shelf. The biggest one I've ever done, it was like 24 foot tall, 6 foot wide. You can imagine the weight.
Good grief.
And it had large corbels holding up the mantel shelf, and it just looked old, ancient, like it was just there for
They
100
must have
years.
had good supports in their
Yeah.
flooring in their
Yes.
basement.
Don't you have to have a
Yeah.
building tested if you're going to put that much weight on a floor?
Yes, they definitely had a real good support system for that.
Well, let's talk about this. Something you mentioned before. You actually have something called a pallet sale at your shop. And this is fascinating. Pay attention, listeners. This is pretty neat.
I have lots of leftover pieces throughout the years. Some of them might be a little bit damaged, but some people like that look. You know, you can put in your garden setting. Old corbels, keystones, lion heads. I've got all kinds of stuff out there. And I had moved from my old shop to my new shop, and I need more space. So I'm having a pallet sale, $125. You can't stack everything up on one pallet, but you can put them right next to each other, and you know, it's a good deal.
It's about as much on the pallet as long as it doesn't overlap. So you can squeeze it in any kind of way you want.
Play Jenga with it. Yeah, man, get it all in there. So they can. You have pallets there? I
have pallets there.
So they come here to your store and give you give them a pallet, and they can put as many pieces of your original artwork that aren't stacked as they can fit on a pallet, and it's $125?
Yes, and it's in my back lot.
Christmas and birthdays, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Christmas and birthdays. That's a dadgum good deal.
And if they do that, is it possible for you to deliver it if they pay? Can you deliver it to them?
Well,
or are you up to
I would rather be cash and carry, but if the circumstances would, you know, if they buy enough, I'll deliver.
Tom, what kind of events do you have coming up?
Well, I tell you what, I had some past events, and I do them every year. T-Barn Bites, I set up a little booth there and sell the smaller tiles. I do that at the Mother's Day time, and that was, you know, not too long ago. And I do that every year.
Hey, what about Father's Day?
Yes, I do need to figure that one out. Let's see. I just got back from Kansas City, and I go to this art fair every year. It's first week in June. It's the Red Cedar Gardens, and they have a great following, and I do really well up there. I need to get some more events going. People are talking to me about going to St. Louis. At Shafley has an art show. They're trying to talk me into going there. So I haven't set anything up, but I will have it on my website when I do get an event going.
Well, if you have an idea for Tom, have an event you'd like him to participate in, be sure to let him know, because he's looking for events.
Your shop is called Stone Effects.
Yes.
And it is you can find him at 1625 North Campbell, between what streets?
Commercial and Division.
So between Commercial and Division, you can go check out his shop in person. Now, to contact Tom, you can visit his website at www.caststoneeffects, all one word, .com. caststoneeffects.com. Or you can contact him on the phone, 417-840-3606, or you can search Facebook for Stone Effects. There is more than one way to get a hold of you, Tom. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I do have a holiday studio show. Of course, it's not till Christmas time, but I do that every year too. Let's see, what else? I don't know. I just enjoy the whole process of doing it, doing the original design, making a mold off of it, casting in concrete, and installing. So it's very rewarding.
If you have an idea, an original piece that you'd like created, it'll be yours, a one of a kind, and
forever and ever.
It'd be great.
Well, Tom, thanks for coming out today. We really, really appreciate it. This has been fascinating.
I appreciate it too.
No problem.
So again, his name is Tom Ehlers, owner of Cast Stone Effects.
I'll give his brother a quick plug.
Sure.
John Ehlers, I've known for years and years and years. We go way back to college times. And it was only about 2 months ago, I saw some of his work. And my God, I was just amazed at his detailed realism. You know, I'm surprised you guys don't work together. And
we need to do something
You
together.
should cast some things together.
But you know how brothers are.
Oh, I know. Competitive there. All right. Anyhow, I just wanted to mention John.
When we come back, we'll have Jeff Jenkins, founder of the Skinny Improv, here in the studio. Again, Tom, thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.
Great talking to you.
You've been listening to Art Matters. We'll be right back.
This is Art Matters, brought to you by A Class Act Productions with George Cron and Tim Pyland. A Class Act Productions produces the wildly popular parodies of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Star Trek, upstairs at the Canvas at 315 South Avenue, just 1 block south of the square and across the street from Ernie Biggs' Dueling Piano Bar. Every third Saturday of the month, you can see our Star Trek parody at 8 p.m. and Buffy the Vampire Slayer at 10 p.m. Tickets are $5 per show, or see the double feature for $8. For more information, Go to a Class Act Productions Facebook page, and while you're there, please be sure to like us.
Well, we're back for part 2 of our July issue of Art Matters. I'm George Cron. This is Tim Pilot.
Hello.
And we have one of the funniest guys in Springfield here as our second guest.
Oh, you're too kind, Joe. Oh, you're talking about.
Oh, this is awkward. Hey.
Gee,
We do have Jeff Jenkins.
Yes, hi.
President, CEO, chief cook, and bottle washer of the Skinny Improv.
That's right. Exciting.
Jeff, you
especially
actually
the bottle washing.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what it
bottles
seems
are hard
like.
to wash. You have to have a special brush for that crap. I'm telling you. Okay.
Hey, do you know how to cut bottles? Like
Yes,
glass?
I do.
Then let's talk about it afterwards. I have an idea.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, because it's interesting you say that. But
Yeah?
You have no idea what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. But maybe it'll show up in the slides on the screen, or maybe not. We'll just leave you really confused
Right.
until next month. Jeff, you've got a couple of big milestones that have just come up. You just had your 10th anniversary.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, Skinny Improv, we started in 2002, so we had our 10-year anniversary last year. We waited to celebrate it this year because, as improvisers, kind of forgot. So we had 11-year reunion show this year. We invited back one of the cast from 2005, and they came in for a weekend, did a lot of shows, and it was a good time. I can't believe we've been doing 11 years here in Springfield.
Time does fly.
That's a lot of junk made up. Yeah.
And also, you've just moved into a new space.
Just moved into a new
You
space.
moved, what, like 5 feet to the right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. We just dropped our stuff down
Yeah.
out of the ceiling. We're now next door to Nona's, between Nona's and Scotch and Soda at 308 South Avenue. Super excited about that, to be back on street level, get a sense of more foot traffic, and people know where we are now, because the move to Nona's was good, because I just needed to get out of that old building, because as you guys know, it was just falling
You
apart.
couldn't run the air and the lights at the same time.
No, you couldn't. You couldn't run anything at the same time. Most of the actors couldn't run lines at the same time. So, hey. So anyway, so that was a kind of a stopgap to get out of the building. And I'm going to back away from the mic and not project. So anyway, we're there at the new one, and it's great. I'm super excited about it, and it's going to be wonderful.
Well, tell us about your group.
Yeah.
You offer classes, you have shows. Tell us a little bit about the group of people that work at the Skinny.
We have about 40 volunteers that either perform or take classes or whatever. We have right now. I changed the way we do our shows. We used to have one group that did the 8 p.m. shows, or what was called our main stage show, and it was the same group of 5 people for years. Then this year we started introducing other groups in that 8 p.m. slot. So now we have 3 or 4 different groups that do that 8 p.m. slot. We have our main stage, which was called Skinny Classic, but we're changing the name to Core 6. And then we have Betty the Baldwin, which is a 5 girls and 1 guy group. And then we have Improv Sports, which is competitive improv, 2 teams competing against each other. Audience decides the winner. And so that's kind of where we're at now. We're going to add other shows to that 8 p.m. slot to kind of just shake it up a little bit and not put all the pressure on the same 5 people to be there every week. Because we do every weekend except 4th of July and Christmas. And then on top of that, we do 250-something shows in the theater. And we probably do another 200-something shows outside of the theater. So we probably
So you're busy.
Yeah, we do 400 or 500 shows a year.
My goodness.
And during Christmas, we normally do 70 shows, just between January 1st and December 1st.
Let's talk a little bit about your classes. You
Yeah.
offer classes.
Yes, we
How
do.
does that work?
We have our what's called our level 1 class, which is a basic intro to improv, how to do a scene, how to take a suggestion, how to use that suggestion as inspiration. And at the end of the 8 weeks, we guarantee to have you show ready. You do a show for your family and friends on our stage. They do a 30-minute showcase at the end of the 8 weeks. And so it's a lot of fun. Then we have 3 levels after that, so we have 4 levels total. By the time you get to level 4, you're called what we're calling a house team. That means after level 3 and level 4, you start trying to find your form, what your show's going to look like, and then we put you up on a regular slot once a month, and then you perform, and they do a 30-minute show, 30-minute long-form show. Usually, yeah.
So if they make it through all of the levels of training, they get a show with
Yeah.
the Skinny.
Yeah.
They can put on the schedule.
Yeah, we have 2. Well, we have 2 house teams, Rookies of the Year and LeFou and the Bells, and I just realized the other day that like long form improv team names and trivia team names are usually sounding very similar. You can take a trivia team name and it's probably a good long form team name. So anyway, so usually after level 2 to level 3, you start getting in different types of shows. whether it's what's called our Tourco, which is a show that goes out to, to do private parties, churches, corporations, businesses, schools. We have an improvised kids play called Playhouse, and it's a 45-minute improvised play. Kids give us a suggestion, a location. They decorate the set for us, and we use that. And we have what's called the art department, where they make all our props and costumes on site as we go. So if somebody's like, oh, I need a sword, then art department will make it and bring it up. Or this helmet's not big enough, then they'll make a bigger helmet.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then the kids come up and we do improvised music with that. David Greathouse plays for us. He's fantastic, as we all know. He's super talented. He's just scary talented. It's amazing.
I'm his biggest fan.
Oh, I love him.
His biggest fan.
I love him.
He's a great poet.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. We've talked about the group. Let's talk about you. How did you get started in improv?
I started taking improv classes 16, 17 years ago. I went through a very personal thing, a very hurtful personal thing, and was looking for something different. I was in a transition time in my life, and me and my buddy went and saw this group in Fort Worth called 4-Day Weekend. And I went, and it was just magic. It was seamless. I was like, I can do that. It looks so easy. Later on, I learned that the art is in concealing the art. Make it look easier than it is. And so I went to classes and was horrible, and then kept taking classes, got a little less horrible, and now here I am 16 years later.
A master.
A master, if you will.
Let's backtrack just a little bit, and you certainly don't have to talk about anything that makes you feel uncomfortable that you don't want to discuss. But
Sure.
Yes, he does. Oh, no.
Yeah, right?
You said you were in a bad place.
Yeah.
And this helped you out
Yeah.
of that place?
Yeah, it did. I'm actually writing a book, improvised, something that basically says, improv saved my life, or how improv saved my life. And I've
really
used
feel that way.
Yeah, I really do. And I use it. I go out and I do motivational speaking using improv, and it's called Your Improvised Life. And because life is improvised, you make it up as you go along. You have no idea how it works out, and you base it off the suggestions you get from people around you. What you do with your scene is up to you. It can be a good scene, it could be a bad scene. It depends on the relationships and how you use the information you're given. So I go out and speak to colleges and high schools and corporations and businesses, kind of motivation and how to apply business or life and improv together. So that's kind of it. That's kind of what I'm doing. So yeah, it was a thing. It was a horrible thing.
So you when you do this motivational speaking, do you explain that this really pulled you out of this dark place, and hopefully it can do the same for other people?
Definitely do that.
That's what art can do.
That's what it is. That's what it's so great. Who was it? Tracy Letts acceptance speech at the Tonys, and he said it's our job to put it in their face, to ask the questions. Art is a reflection of society, and you can see the good or the bad, and hopefully it will motivate somebody to say, you know what, I can get up one more time. One of the biggest things I teach in improv is follow the fear. The fear will take you someplace. Fear's okay. If you fall down, think about how you're going to get up on the way down. And, there's no mistakes in improv. You just take that mistake and you weave it into what you're creating. And in life, you make a mistake, you find a way to weave into what you're creating. The master weaver wastes nothing. It's a Del Close quote.
That's pretty neat. Thank you for sharing that, Jeff.
No problem.
And I'm sorry if
I don't care.
threw that at you. Usually we discuss what we're going to talk about with our guests beforehand, but when you said that, I really...
Well, I'm an improviser. I mean, if I planned it out, then I'd have to memorize silly scripts.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we will still be talking with Jeff Jenkins, talking about projects he's involved in. I also want to talk about Buffy and Hamlet. Back in 2010.
Yeah.
And we'll just chat about some stuff going on with the Skinny.
Cool.
You're listening to Art Matters, recorded at the Creamery Arts Center in Springfield, Missouri. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back.
And we're back here. I'm George Cron and Tim Pylan here with Art Matters, and we have our talented guest, Jeff Jenkins, with us of the Skinny Improv.
Had a fantastic first segment, and we're ready to delve back into some more stuff. Jeff, do you have a moment that I like to call an aha moment where you were performing on stage and everything just clicked into place and you knew you were doing what was right and what was true to yourself? Do you have a moment like that that stands out?
Several thousand of them, validation moments. I think for me, in terms of the Skinny, when I knew that it was bigger than I thought it was going to be, a couple moments. One was when I first started the Skinny. I was going to a school here in town that won't claim me. They let me use the theater for free. And so I went and talked to all these people. And there's 9 people kept coming back to me going, we can do this. So I gave them classes, taught them how to do it, and we did shows. So I thought it was just going to be a fun little lark. And then my plan was to disappear and move on to Chicago or something like that. But we're having lunch one day, and they said, hey, we got something. I was like, what? And they pulled out this big box, and they bought everybody sweatshirts. It was the silliest thing. It's just a sweatshirt. But right then, I remember thinking, these people use their own resources to invest in something, It was, for me, there was not a show, anything like that, but it was people using their resources, and they were students who didn't have a lot of money, who paid for these sweatshirts for everybody in the cast, And for me, that was kind of like, this is bigger than what I think it's going to be. And then just people, when people, like, I remember when the first time somebody brought a date to the Skinny, and they came back when they got engaged, and then they asked us to do their wedding, So that's the kind of thing that, makes me, that's why I say there's so many of those moments, because, I'll be somewhere, I was just at Target earlier, and somebody came up to me and said, hey, enjoy the show, I love what you're doing, looking forward to where you guys are going. That kind of stuff, when the community comes back and says what a big part it's been in their life. Mm-hmm. It's those kind of things that make me go, aha, And, as far as performance, it's just, those happen when the audience is there and they're laughing and having a good time. And then they let it be invested in their life, and they find a way to invest back by having us be a part of their special moments, whether it's a 13-year-old birthday party or a wedding or whatever it is. So.
Well, I think, not to sound too egotistical, but performing artists really have a way of connecting to an audience, and it always tickles you when you know that in some way you're a part of their life.
Yeah, exactly. And what's special about improv is that show's never going to happen again. Hamlet can be done 2 or 3 times within a certain amount of time, But an improv show,
it really is unique.
It is. And theater, what makes theater, as we know that, is the audience-performer relationship. It's different than visual art or music. You don't really have to have that audience there for the person to enjoy it. But theater, you have to. And then I think improv goes beyond that one more step, because the audience is so involved in the creative process. Mm-hmm. When they come see a play, the process is already done. They're seeing the finished result. Mm-hmm. But in improv, they're a part of that creative process.
They're on the ledge with you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I remember the first time I came to the Skinny. This would have been almost 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's the first time I'd ever heard the word equine quadruped. They were doing some kind of, throw us out a word.
Yeah.
The word was equine quadruped.
Yeah.
A horse. That's a horse with 4 legs.
Yeah. As opposed to the other kind.
Anyway.
Okay.
All right. Now,
Yeah.
It depends on which end of the horse you're talking
Right,
about.
true.
Don't be gross.
I've been called the other end a lot from the audience. Just kidding.
I ask that question almost every time, and I'm just fascinated because every time the answers are so different.
Oh, yeah.
And meaningful in different ways. And
Yeah.
I love asking that question.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I've never been asked that.
Well, let's talk about what's coming up. We've certainly addressed the shows you have at the Skinny.
Uh-huh.
But can you give us a schedule?
Yeah, we have shows every Friday and Saturday night, 8 and 10 p.m.
Okay.
Pretty simple. Our main stage show is at 8 p.m. on Friday and Saturday nights, and then we have different 10 p.m. shows. Our 10 p.m. shows are Pay What You Will. And then the first Thursday of the month, we have shows as well, starting at 7:30. And I'm really, really happy with the quality of shows that we're putting out right now, because we have so many different groups. There you can see some really, really good long-form improv and some really solid improv. And then our Playhouse is, for the kids, it's Saturdays 11:30, usually the first 3 weeks of the month.
Okay.
And then that's all on our website, theskinnyimprov.com.
At the end of the segment, we'll have lots of contact information.
Cool.
What else do you have coming up?
We have, we're going to be bringing back my Shakespeare. Kind of took the summer off. and going to be doing the Scottish play. Ooh, hopefully in October. I know. And do that. I want to do it similar as to what we did with Hamlet.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah,
We
with the
did Hamlet back in 2010. Jeff was gracious enough to cast me in it, and that was, I think, the first Shakespeare I ever did.
it was.
I was driving down Glenstone the other day, and the lines just popped back in.
I know, isn't it funny?
It's 3 years later.
We had a long conversation about this the other day at 10 Theater. We were waiting on something, and about how Shakespeare will stick in your head. Like Neil Simon, even though that's how we talk, I can forget those lines the next day. But Shakespeare, it's because your brain has to relearn the cadence and the rhythm of it. So I don't know. But so I want to do that play. You're not supposed to say the name.
Yeah.
Mackers, let's call it that.
Close, dude.
The Big Mac.
All right. I like that, the Big Mac.
The Big Mac. Very similar style, limited amount of seats, no lights, candles, that whole thing.
Same place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try to.
Let's talk about that. You're going to do this unnamed play of Scottish
Let's call it the Voldemort
Okay.
of Shakespeare plays.
The Voldemort of Shakespeare plays.
Or we just call it Voldemort. Yes, exactly.
And what you did, you had the performance area lined out with candles.
About 150 candles.
Good. And you had to go through and replace those boogers almost every time.
Yeah.
And I've told Jeff this several times. It was the most beautifully scented production I have ever been in my entire life. Vanilla out the wazoo.
Right, because we ran out of scentless candles.
Yeah.
I bought them all from Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
Now I know to buy them wholesale off the internet.
Probably much cheaper.
Yeah.
Way.
Oh gosh, our budget for candles was just insane.
And there were no lighting other than eerie.
The concept is no sound, no special lighting, no major costume or no major sets. And focus on the text, because that's the reason Shakespeare's been around 400 years. Is the text. You can put them anywhere you want. My favorite quote is, anything you want to know about God, read the Bible. Anything you want to know about man, read Shakespeare. And so that's what I like to do with with the Springfield Shakespeare Project, is dive into the text and see what it's about. And I think having the audience so close, they get to be...
They're right up in the action.
Oh my gosh, especially with Hamlet. It's so voyeuristic. That you feel that you're watching this dysfunctional family fall apart. And that's really what happened.
And you had the place draped in flags. I mean, it was, you walked into this otherworldly space.
Yeah.
Is what it seemed like. Now, I know this is July's podcast, so you're going to have about 3 months before you put this up. You all need to come see this, because you turned people away.
Right.
I think you had 50 seats. And people did not get to see this production. People were clamoring to see this production and had to be turned
I think
away.
finally the last 2 nights they talked me into adding extra seats.
I think you had like 10 seats.
I think I'm the only producer ever in the history of producing who decided not to add extra seats.
No, you're not.
No.
No, you're not. Anyway, I'm looking at George Cron here.
Tim and I tussle once in a while.
Oh, really?
Seating and how we're going to accomplish all this.
Well, we had room. We had a ton of room. We had a ton of seats. I just didn't want
You did
to.
that for a very specific reason.
I didn't want to lose the feel of it. Okay.
So yeah, look for the Voldemort of Shakespeare plays coming this October, and it'll be at the same place.
Hopefully, I'm talking to them right now, so that'll be figured out. It'll be, if not, it'll be something. I've actually thought about doing it like in somebody's loft or something like that, like a super found space, and making even more. I don't know. I'm thinking. So whatever. I know, right?
We'll chat after the
Okay.
thing.
I was wondering what that smoke coming
All
out
right,
here,
exactly. Yeah, that sound.
Let's take just a minute and talk, because Buffy was originally a collaboration.
It was.
Yeah.
And
back in the beginning.
You lost, moved out of the space. We moved over to the canvas, but yeah, that Buffy had its origin at the Skinny Improv.
It was great, and I've always liked working with Jeff. Jeff is really a gentleman as far as sharing a space and letting you be creative, and still has great ideas. If you need a suggestion, you can come. So I felt that we've always had a great relationship.
Heck yeah.
It was sad. It was sad when we had to move out of that space, and if it hadn't been for us getting started with Star Trek, which was just required a little bit more space as far as
still don't have the space we need.
Right. The Nona space was so limited, which was great. It was very intimate for improv.
I think it was too.
Yeah, and that's why I think the new space is going to have that. It's going to feel that intimate. It's kind of a mix between. It reminds me of the Park Central space, mixed with where we were underneath the Riad.
Right.
For those of you who have the Skinny Improv traveling theater punch card.
There you go.
I just walked in last night
Yeah.
to your space. I know you're still working on it, but I thought it just looked tremendous already.
Yeah.
And I'll comment on the audience. I walked in, and they were all so up, so eager,
Good.
and friendly. I
Yeah.
don't know, it was odd, because I walked in just, and I went, "Enjoy the show,"
Yeah.
and everybody waved
Yeah,
back and went,
yeah.
"Thanks," and they knew who I was. I don't
Yeah,
think, and
yeah.
I was just a guy off the street, just
Some
kicking
crazy
his
homeless
face
man.
out. Yeah.
I have friends come in from LA and Chicago and improvisers. They come in, they'll teach workshops. And that's one thing we're doing with the Skinny last year. So it's really focusing on bringing outside teachers in. And they're always so blown away by how nice our audiences are. Because in big cities, they're just like, make me laugh, funny boy,
Yeah.
But here, the audience are so appreciative they have it, so it's a unique thing. So I love our audiences, I love our audiences.
Well, Jeff, thank you for being here today.
No
buddy.
problem.
It's
Thanks
always a
for
pleasure.
allowing me.
Jeff Jenkins, founder of Skinny Improv. You can get Skinny Improv by calling 417-831-5223.
5233.
I typed that wrong. Why don't you say it?
831-5233. It's 831. It's 831 laugh LAFF.
I'm so humiliated, Tim Powell.
Oh, shut it, George. You can also find them on Facebook by searching Skinny Improv, or you can find their website by typing in www.theskinnyimprov.com.
That's right.
All right, Jeff, again, thanks, buddy.
Thank you guys very
Great
much.
seeing
Always
you.
a pleasure to see you guys.
I always
You
love
too.
to end the podcast.
Okay.
Here we go.
We didn't have to deal with this last episode because Tim has other obligations, but here we
Oh,
go
yeah,
again.
Jenna thinks that you think of her as Yoko Ono, by the way.
Well,
That's funny.
Because I listened to the podcast, and I texted her, I'm like, you need to listen to about the first 5 minutes and hear what George has to say about
funny.
you. And she's like, I had nothing to do with that. I'm like, well, that's okay. Anyway, I like to end the podcast with a warm, fuzzy feeling, with a little bit of wisdom and just some humor. Leave you on a good note. And
Okay.
so, this is our good thought for episode 10 of Art Matters. Ladies and gentlemen, even if those voices in your heads aren't real, keep listening. They often have some pretty good ideas. Thank you very
that's
much, ladies
funny.
and gentlemen. We'll see you in August.
keep listening to the voices in your head, Tim.
Yeah.
Always.
Bye-bye, folks.
Art Matters is brought to you by A Class Act Productions.